She thought she had finally found a second chance. A beautiful house, a wealthy family, a fresh start in New York. But behind the polished floors and perfect smiles, something was wrong. Because sometimes, the most dangerous place isn't prison, it's a perfect home. And Millie is about to find that out the hard way. Millie stands outside the Grand Winchester residence in New York, clutching hope like it's the only thing she has left. The tall iron gate towers over her. The hedges are trimmed with mathematical precision. Soft sunlight spills across the pale exterior walls, making the entire house look like it belongs on the cover of an architectural magazine. Everything about it whispers wealth, stability, perfection. And Millie needs that perfection more than anything. She steps inside for the interview. The front door opens. Standing there is Nina Winchester. Nina holds Millie's resume between her fingers. She looks at it, then at Millie, then back at the paper. With the slightest lift of her eyebrow, she remarks that, judging by her college degree, Millie seems overqualified for a housekeeping position. Millie answers calmly, her tone gentle and steady. She says she prefers working for the right family. Her expression remains polite, respectful. But beneath that calm surface, there's a flicker of nervousness she's working hard to suppress. Nina doesn't waste time on small talk. She moves directly to the job details. Millie will be responsible for cleaning the house, maintaining order, and most importantly, caring for their 7-year-old daughter, Cecilia, who goes by Cece. Then the house tour begins. The interior is stunning. Clean lines, designer furniture, soft, neutral tones blended with expensive textures. Everything looks intentional, curated. As they walk, Nina casually mentions that the house was designed by her husband, Andrew. He works in the tech industry. There's pride in her voice when she says his name. They enter a large room, dominated by a massive flat-screen television mounted on the wall. Along one side sits a shelf lined with carefully arranged liquor bottles. Whiskey, wine, top-shelf labels displayed like trophies. Nina smiles lightly and says Andrew spends most of his time here. Then, in a tone that almost sounds generous, she adds that Millie is welcome to use this room whenever she likes. They move into a second living room. This one feels untouched, almost staged. The furniture looks like it's never been sat on. The air feels still, preserved. Nina explains they rarely use this room. Millie hesitates, then gently asks, if everything is already so clean and organized, do they really need a nanny? Nina pauses for just a second. Then she admits, quietly, that she's pregnant. She says she's going to need all the help she can get. But there's something important. She asks Millie not to tell Andrew. It's still early. She wants to be sure. She doesn't want to say anything until she knows it's safe. Millie nods warmly and congratulates her. They move on to Cece's bedroom. The walls are covered in colorful posters. Shelves overflow with toys. In one corner sits a miniature model of the house, detailed and precise. Nina gestures toward it. Andrew made that, she says. Then she shows Millie her room. It's separated slightly from the main part of the house, almost tucked away, slightly isolated. Nina tells her she can decorate it with plants if she likes. She can play loud music. It's soundproof. That word lingers in the air longer than it should. The tour ends. Nina hands Millie $20, telling her to use it for gas. She says she'll call once they've made a decision. Millie thanks her with a smile. But deep down, she already assumes the call won't come, because everything on that resume is a lie. After the interview, Millie walks into a public restroom. She washes her face, freshens up, stares at her reflection for a long moment. Then she returns to her car. That night, she sleeps inside it. The seat is stiff. The windows are closed tight against the cold. The parking lot around her is dark and mostly empty. This is her reality. The next morning, her phone rings. It's Nina. Her voice is bright. Millie got the job. Relief floods through her. Her eyes shine. She thanks Nina over and over again. That same afternoon, she arrives at the house with her few belongings. The gate is closed. She turns to a man working nearby and asks if he knows the access code. Before he can answer, the gate slowly opens on its own. Millie steps inside and stops. Yesterday, the house sparkled. Today, it's chaos. Clothes scattered across the floor, papers covering the sofa, dishes piled in the kitchen sink. The entire place looks ransacked. Nina appears almost instantly and says Millie needs to start cleaning immediately. She has to work on her PTA speech. Without hesitation, Nina picks up Millie's bags and offers to carry them to her room. Millie says nothing. She just starts cleaning. Later, Andrew comes home with Cece. Nina introduces Millie and announces that she'll be living with them from now on. Andrew hesitates at first. His eyes linger on Millie, assessing her. But Nina assures him Millie will be a tremendous help. Eventually, Andrew offers a polite, measured smile. He welcomes her. Millie heads to her room. Inside, she notices a small mini-fridge stocked with bottled water. She tries to close the door behind her. But something feels wrong. The door doesn't lock from the inside, only from the outside. She moves to the window and attempts to open it. It doesn't budge. There's a knock. Nina enters carrying dinner. Casually, she mentions the window really doesn't open, but she'll have the handyman fix it. Millie asks if the handyman is the man she saw outside earlier. Nina nods. His name is Enzo. He's the groundskeeper. Millie then asks for a key to her room. Nina laughs lightly and says she'll give it to her later. The room used to be Andrew's file storage closet. Then Nina hands her a brand new phone. She explains that the house credit card is linked to it, so Millie can buy groceries and anything else the household needs. The next morning, Millie oversleeps. She rushes downstairs and finds Nina in the living room, furious. Nina is throwing things, knocking items off tables, papers flying. Millie asks what happened. Nina says her PTA speech was sitting on the counter last night, and now it's gone. She accuses Millie of throwing it away. Andrew steps in, trying to calm Nina down. He suggests he'll take Cece to school, and Nina can rewrite the speech before evening. Millie quietly starts cleaning up the mess. Andrew, lowering his voice, confides that he doesn't understand why Nina has been so emotional lately. He offers to help Millie clean. She politely declines. When she takes the trash outside, Enzo watches her carefully. He asks what she's doing there. Then he notices Nina behind her. He mutters something under his breath and quickly walks away. Later, while cleaning the master bathroom, Millie finds a tablet. Suddenly, Nina appears behind her. She begins talking about how she doesn't feel like she fits in with the other PTA moms. Then she tells Millie to start preparing dinner. That evening, while Nina attends a meeting, Millie serves food. She asks Cece if she'd like juice. Cece says yes, but insists on using a different glass. This one's dirty. Millie explains it just came out of the dishwasher. Cece refuses anyway. Andrew invites Millie to sit and eat with them. She declines. Back in her room, Millie scrolls through Andrew's Instagram profile. There's a knock. Andrew enters with a cupcake. He steps closer, leans in, and suddenly, Millie jolts awake. It was just a dream. The next morning, as Millie sets breakfast on the table, Nina hands her the key to her room. Then she asks how things went with Andrew and Cece the night before. Millie says everything was fine. Nina sighs and comments that Andrew doesn't particularly love her cooking, but he never complains. A few days later, on Saturday, Nina tells Millie to take Cece to ballet class. Millie reminds her it's her day off. Nina sharply replies that because Millie threw away her PTA speech, she missed her hair salon appointment. Millie insists she has an important meeting to attend. Their argument grows louder. Andrew intervenes and offers to take Cece himself. Millie attends a meeting with her parole officer. The officer asks about her living situation, her job. Millie explains everything. The officer warns her clearly, hold on to this job. One mistake and she'll serve the remaining 5 years of her sentence behind bars. After the meeting, Nina calls, clears her throat, and simply says, pick Cece up from ballet. Millie arrives at the dance studio. There, she meets a PTA mom named Patrice. Millie introduces herself politely and explains she works for Nina Winchester and is there to pick up Cece. Patrice frowns slightly. She says Cece already left. She went on a play date with Emma. It was arranged weeks ago. Millie freezes. She insists Nina specifically told her to pick Cece up. Patrice's irritation becomes obvious. She pulls out her phone and calls Nina immediately. After a brief exchange, she hangs up. Coldly, she says Nina never said any such thing. Millie's face drains of color. Millie walks back to the Winchester house with a growing knot in her stomach. Nina introduces her to a woman standing nearby, Evelyn, Andrew's mother. Evelyn holds a carefully wrapped set of fine china in her hands. Moments later, Andrew arrives home and greets his mother with an affectionate hug. The atmosphere appears normal on the surface. But inside Millie, something is tightening. Something isn't right. That night, sleep won't come. Millie lies in bed staring at the ceiling, her thoughts spinning. Finally, she gets up. She walks downstairs quietly and turns on the television. The living room fills with soft blue light from the screen. After a few minutes, Andrew comes downstairs too. Millie startles and immediately apologizes, saying she didn't mean to disturb anyone. Andrew tells her to relax. She can stay. They sit together and start watching Family Feud. Millie smiles and admits she likes the show. Andrew jokes that his family would absolutely dominate it. They're like vultures, he says with a laugh. Then, unexpectedly, he asks about her family. Millie answers softly that she's not really in touch with them. To lighten the mood, Andrew laughs and says the 5 of them, him, Millie, his parents, and Nina, would make an unbeatable team on Family Feud. Millie notices something instantly. He didn't include Nina's parents. She asks about them. Andrew goes quiet for a moment. Then he explains that Nina's parents died in a fire when she was a child. The police never determined who started it, but rumors suggested Nina might have done it herself. And right then, Nina appears in the doorway, her eyes fix on both of them. Andrew quickly explains they're just watching a game show. Then he stands and goes upstairs without another word. Silence fills the room. Nina turns slowly toward Millie. Her voice is calm. Cold. She fires her. Just like that. Millie's heart drops into her stomach. Panic floods her veins. She pleads. She asks for one more chance. She promises it won't happen again. After a long, suffocating pause, Nina agrees. But there's a condition. Stay away from my husband. She looks Millie directly in the eye. Stay away from my husband. The next day, the house is busy. A PTA meeting is being held in the living room. Millie stands in the kitchen preparing snacks while a group of perfectly dressed mothers gather and chatter. As she serves them, she overhears their conversations. They complain about their nannies. One says hers is lazy. Another says hers is overpriced. Another rolls her eyes dramatically about the help. Then Nina casually announces that she's looking for a nanny. The room lights up with interest. One of the women asks how many months along she is. Nina smiles faintly and says they're trying. She mentions possibly visiting a fertility clinic. At that exact moment, her phone rings. She excuses herself and steps outside. The second she's gone, the energy shifts. The women lean closer. Patrice comments that Andrew must be a saint to tolerate Nina's behavior. Another woman adds that Nina had nothing when she married Andrew. Then someone mentions, almost casually, that Nina once spent 9 months in a psychiatric hospital. Millie absorbs every word. That night, she writes in her journal. She notes that Nina lied about being pregnant. She wonders if Nina is unstable. The bedroom door suddenly flies open. Nina stands there. She says that this Saturday, Millie will need to watch Cece. She and Andrew are going to the doctor. Saturday arrives. As soon as Nina and Andrew leave, Millie opens the medicine cabinet in their bathroom. She scans the labels carefully. One prescription stands out. Medication used to treat psychosis. Millie's pulse quickens. She quietly leaves a voicemail for her friend Lexi. She asks if there are any job openings anywhere. She needs to get out of this house. Cece overhears. She steps into the doorway. Are you leaving? She asks. Millie quickly says no. She starts making Cece a sandwich. Trying to soften the atmosphere, she asks if there's anyone at school Cece has a crush on. Cece's face tightens immediately. You don't need to be my friend, she snaps. Millie responds gently. But I want to be, because I like you. Cece's expression softens slightly. She returns to playing with her dollhouse. Juice or water? Millie asks. Juice, Cece replies firmly. Don't spill it. Juice is a privilege. The word lands strangely. Millie notices something else. Cece's troll doll. It came from her room. She firmly tells Cece not to go into her room anymore. Suddenly, a scream echoes from upstairs. Sharp, piercing. Later, Andrew explains, Nina has premature ovarian insufficiency. She can't have children. They've been trying for years. Andrew admits something else. Cece isn't his biological daughter. That night, screaming fills the house. Millie creeps toward the bedroom door. Through the crack, she sees Nina holding a shard of glass. Blood coats her hand. There's a strange smile on her face. Andrew approaches her slowly, carefully. Eventually, he wrestles the glass from her grasp, then shuts the door. The next morning, Nina apologizes to Millie for lying about the pregnancy. She smiles sweetly and offers Millie some of her clothes. Millie hesitates, but accepts. Then Nina gives her another task. Book 2 Broadway tickets and a hotel for Saturday night. She wants to surprise Andrew. Cece will stay with a friend. Millie will have the night off. Millie agrees. Later, while picking Cece up from ballet, another mother approaches her. She asks if she's the Winchester family's new maid. When Millie says yes, the woman lowers her voice. She says Cece has been through a lot. Nina once tried to drown her. Later, she attempted suicide with pills. Andrew saved them both. Millie's heart pounds. She tries asking Enzo about the family, but Nina appears suddenly, angry. She demands to know why Millie bought Broadway tickets. Millie reminds her she was told to. Nina denies it completely, says this Saturday she and Cece are going to art camp. The tickets are non-refundable. The cost will come out of Millie's salary. Andrew walks in. Nina explains the situation. Andrew calmly says the money will not be deducted. Days later, Nina and Cece leave for art camp. The house becomes silent, peaceful. Millie takes a shower. When she steps out, she nearly collides with Andrew in the hallway. He apologizes awkwardly and walks away. Later, he mentions the tickets couldn't be refunded. Would she like to go to the show with him instead? Millie hesitates, then agrees. She wears one of Nina's dresses. They attend the Broadway show. Lights, applause, laughter. For a few hours, everything feels normal. At the hotel, Andrew opens up. He runs a data processing company his father left him. He always wanted to be a good husband. He always wanted children. He asks if she wants kids someday. Millie answers quietly, maybe, one day. Andrew checks them in. Millie asks the front desk for a phone charger. They provide one immediately. They go to separate rooms. While charging her phone, Millie sees a flood of furious messages from Nina. She shows them to Andrew. She begins to cry. Andrew comforts her. One moment becomes two, and they sleep together. The next morning, Andrew tells her she's beautiful. An hour later, they return home. They exhale in relief when they see Nina isn't back yet. They kiss. Then, the front door opens. Nina walks in. She apologizes for her messages from the night before. She asks how Millie spent her evening. Millie lies. Says she went to a bar with Lexi. Nina smiles. Then, casually, "Did you learn to cook in prison?" Silence. She turns to Andrew and says, matter-of-factly, that Millie spent 10 years in prison, but it's wonderful she's trying to start fresh. Millie feels her heart slam against her ribs, but she keeps her face steady. Nina hands her a long grocery list, then adds something else. From now on, use the house car, because her own car has become a topic of discussion. A chill runs down Millie's spine. The fluorescent lights of the grocery store feel harsher than usual. Millie moves through the aisles with Nina's long, meticulously written list clutched in her hand. As she reaches for a carton of eggs, one of the PTA moms approaches her again. The same tight smile, the same curious eyes. Her gaze drops to Millie's new phone. "Oh," she says lightly, almost amused. Most nannies don't like taking phones from their employers. Millie stiffens. "Why?" The woman shrugs. "They're usually tracking devices." The words hit like a lightning strike. Before Millie can process it, two police officers enter the store. They walk directly toward her. Her stomach drops. They inform her she's under arrest. Nina has reported her car stolen. Handcuffs click around her wrists. Shoppers stare. Whispers ripple. Humiliation burns through her. Later, Andrew arrives. He speaks to the officers, smooth and composed. Within an hour, Millie is released. Back in the car, the silence stretches. Then Millie confesses. She was in high school when it happened. She accepted a plea deal. 15 years. She served 10 before being released on parole. Andrew listens quietly. He says she doesn't owe him an explanation. He knows she's a good person. His voice is warm, reassuring, safe. When they get home, Nina is waiting. She waves the Broadway playbill in the air like a weapon. She accuses them of having an affair. Millie denies it. Andrew denies it. Andrew's tone turns cold. He tells Nina she's imagining things again. Nina doesn't hesitate. She fires Millie and demands money for the clothes she stole. Millie stands there, stunned. Then Andrew snaps. His patience finally fractures. He orders Nina out of the house. In a flash of fury, Nina slaps Millie across the face before storming out. The door slams. Silence. Millie says she has to leave too. Her parole requires stable employment and residence. Andrew looks at her steadily. He tells her to stay. She does. The next few weeks feel unreal, dreamlike. The house is quiet now. No screaming, no chaos, just stillness. One afternoon, Andrew smiles at her and says his mother always admired his smile. Women do too. Millie forces a soft laugh, but something about the way he says it lingers uncomfortably. One morning, as she sets breakfast on the table, she notices Enzo standing outside the window, watching, staring. She tells Andrew. Andrew fires Enzo immediately. No hesitation. That same day, Millie accidentally drops one of Evelyn's porcelain plates. It shatters across the kitchen floor. She apologizes immediately. Andrew says it's fine, but tells her to save the broken pieces so someone can glue them back together. That evening, Andrew examines the fragments carefully. He asks why she didn't clean them up right away. Millie says she was afraid of cutting her hand. Andrew nods slowly. Then he walks her to her room. He pulls out champagne. They drink. They grow closer. Later, Millie wakes up. The room is dark, too quiet. She goes to the door. It won't open. It's locked. From the outside, panic claws at her chest. She calls Andrew's name. No answer. And then, the story shifts. Weeks earlier, when Nina left the house, but the truth isn't what Millie believed. Nina wasn't unraveling. She was relieved, because Andrew had been controlling her for years, manipulating, punishing, breaking her down piece by piece. Her trauma began long before Andrew. When she was 8 years old, her parents died in a house fire. She didn't start it, but the rumors followed her. She once dreamed of becoming a lawyer. In college, she fell in love with a professor. She became pregnant with Cece. The professor abandoned her. She gave up her ambitions and took a job as a secretary at a law firm. One day, her boss commented on a stain on her blouse, told her to present herself better. That same day, Andrew noticed her. Later, Andrew apologized on behalf of the lawyer and asked her out. 6 weeks later, he proposed. She said yes. It felt like a fairy tale, but there was always something slightly off, especially when she learned his former fiancée, Kathy, had broken off their engagement shortly before the wedding. One day, Andrew noticed gray hairs at Nina's roots. He told her to fix them. The next day, they were still there. She said she forgot. Andrew sent her to the attic to retrieve a file. When she stepped inside, he locked the door. He ordered her to pull out 100 hairs from her head by the root. "Hair is a privilege," she cried, but she obeyed. The next day, he told her she missed one. Start again. One strand didn't have a father. She completed it again. When she came downstairs, she realized the water she drank had been drugged. Andrew staged a scene to make it look like she tried to drown Cece. Police came. Nina was committed to a psychiatric institution. She took antidepressants just to be released and return to her daughter. But by then, Andrew had already won Cece's affection. To the world, he was the devoted husband. Nina was unstable. Andrew wanted biological children. Nina secretly got an IUD, paid the doctor to tell Andrew she was infertile. The abuse escalated. Enzo tried to help her escape with fake passports. Andrew found out. Eventually, Nina understood something. Andrew's greatest weakness wasn't anger. It was his need to be admired. He needed a new victim, someone fragile, alone, someone he could save. Millie was perfect. But when Nina discovered Millie had killed someone, her plan shifted. She began preparing to leave for California. And now, back to the present. Andrew slides a shard of porcelain under Millie's locked door. He tells her the plate was priceless, a family heirloom. Family possessions are privileges. He orders her to cut herself. 21 cuts across her stomach, one for each broken piece. If she miscounts, she starts over. Her hands tremble as she presses the shard to her skin, and suddenly, she remembers the man she killed. He was wealthy, respected, charming. Everyone thought he was a saint, but he had been abusing her roommate. Millie killed him. Her roommate never testified. Her parents disowned her. She accepted 15 years, served 10. Now she understands. Nina chose her deliberately. After the 21st cut, Millie collapses. Elsewhere, Nina tells Cece they're going to California. Cece asks if Millie is coming. Nina says no. Millie is with Andrew now. The next morning, Andrew unlocks the door. He tells her he's proud of her. Remember, every action has consequences. In that moment, Millie reaches into the mini fridge. She pulls out a knife, the knife Nina hid there. She stabs Andrew, locks him inside the room, takes his phone. She discovers hidden cameras in the room. She calmly eats a sandwich. A message from Evelyn appears on the phone. An idea forms. Millie gathers every piece of Evelyn's porcelain. She takes pliers. She tells Andrew to pull out his own front tooth, or she'll smash every single plate. After a long, trembling moment, he rips the tooth from his mouth. Blood spills. Millie tells him she'll be back. That night, Nina returns home. A noise comes from the attic. She opens the door. Suddenly, Andrew lunges from behind. He chases Millie. A violent struggle erupts. Millie breaks free and hides. Andrew turns to Nina, says they can fix this, make things like before. And in that second, Millie appears. She shoves him down the stairs. Nina unscrews the light bulb. It crashes down. She says they'll tell the police he slipped while changing it. Millie says they won't believe that. Nina whispers, "Run." Before leaving, Millie places Andrew's tooth beside his body. Police arrive. An officer mentions she knew Andrew. He once dated her sister, Kathy. After their breakup, Kathy was never the same. The injuries are severe, but the case is ruled an accident. Days later, at the funeral, PTA moms offer sympathy. Evelyn says Andrew had a beautiful smile. The police found a broken tooth near him. "If you don't take care of your teeth," she mutters, "you lose the privilege of keeping them." She criticizes Nina's outfit, as if that matters. Later, Nina finds Millie. She thanks her, hands her money, for a fresh start. Sometime later, a woman interviews her. She says Nina Winchester recommended her, but warns her husband can be difficult. Millie smiles calmly, steady, controlled. "When can I start?"